Hello, welcome to the programme. I guess today, for most of us, certainly most of us with an interest or an involvement in Sheffield football, today hasn't quite gone exactly as planned. And don't worry about that, because neither has this show. You know, it's not completely fallen apart, but there were plans today to have both a former Sheffield Wednesday player and a former Sheffield United player in the studio. Sadly, for reasons totally beyond his control, Carl Asaba can't make it this evening. He will make it on a future week, as will Paddy Kenny, by the way. I've booked him to appear as well. But today, at very short notice, the guy that I'd lined up before today's events is bravely here. So the former Sheffield Wednesday player, Jon Newsome, who's got the short straw even before the short straw was pulled. Welcome, John. It's very good of you still to come in. I have to say that. It really is. Nothing's happened today, is it?
Bit of a quiet news day today anyway, isn't it?
Well, I think it is, but far be it from me to sort of put bullets in a gun for a former Sheffield Wednesday player to fire. Let's sort of put it out there. I feel I owe it to John and I owe it to everybody to be totally honest and give you my take to start with on events at Sheffield United today. If you haven't heard, the sacking of Slavisa Jokanovic as manager after just a few months in the job, the appointment on a contract until 2026 and moving him up again from the academy of Paul Heckingbottom, assisted by former Sheffield United favourite Stuart McCall and Jack Lester, who also moves up the pecking order. Jon Newsome will have views on all of that later. He'll have views on Sheffield Wednesday as well, and on Middlesbrough, because I know that he's got more than a passing interest in Chris Wilder's appointment there. But I owe it, for honesty, to tell you what I think. It's not a surprise for me that Jokanovic has gone. I think anybody even remotely connected with the football club knew that things were not right behind the scenes. Maybe the timing now is a little bit of a surprise, certainly following a victory in midweek. But no, I think the events were moving in this direction. It's unusual in football because it's not a sacking pressured or forced by comments from fans, protests from fans, or indeed articles or programmes in the media. There was no agenda out there to see a proven manager get sacked. So from that point of view, for outsiders, it will be a surprise. It's been said today it was because of results. I think the board would like to put that across. They've had a media conference this afternoon. I find that strange. Yes, results have been disappointing. Better was expected. Jokanovic has to take a share of blame for that. But is it reasonable, really, on a 3-year contract? I think you'd be thinking that a proven manager on a 3-year contract would be worth backing and supporting, having won promotion twice previously from the Championship. Did Sheffield United want Jokanovic in the first place? I don't think so. I think far nearer the mark is that they wanted Paul Heckingbottom, they wanted a reason, they wanted an ability to promote him and appoint him at the end of last season. He did a fairly decent job. And when the fans showed that they wouldn't wear it, I think United were forced by pressure from supporters and indeed from the media, maybe people like myself, to go for clearly and obviously the best man available for the job. Sorry, John, I'm going to bring you in a minute. That is two proven managers who have failed to get on with this Sheffield United regime. A United regime which is remote and unproven. So you draw your own conclusions from that. Cheap appointment? I think that's pretty irrefutable and undeniable. I'm not calling Paul Heckingbottom cheap by any means as a man. He's a man to be respected, a good, honest man, respected around the football club. But quite clearly, it is going to be a lot cheaper than backing Slavisa Jokanovic in the transfer market in the way that he wanted. It's been said by the Chief Executive, Stephen Bettis, today that Heckingbottom will not be judged on results, but on how good the football department is. I'm sorry, I'm entirely baffled by that. I don't understand that. And it would appear that Jokanovic was judged on results, having lost his job today. A contract for Heckingbottom through to 2026. Well, look, I don't think, my theory on that is I don't think that United wanted to risk their chosen man being shot down by announcing him on a short-term basis, creating a window for protests. I think that they wanted to create a condition whereby fans would have to shrug their shoulders and get behind the new man anyway, which I'm sure they will. Did Slavisa Jokanovic deliberately set himself up to get the sack? I suspect possibly he did. I think he knew it wasn't working, and he made very pointed comments, and the board, I think he knew how those comments would go down, and surely as night follows day, and as happened with the previous manager, he's now out of a job. Positives, a good guy, Paul Heckingbottom. We know him, he's honest, he's well respected, he knows the players, he knows people around the place. He is a guy that's worth supporting. Stuart McCall is back, another popular figure, and Jack Lester as well. Jon Newsome, sorry to gabble on, but I thought it was only fair that, you know, I didn't just load the gun for you to fire, and I've said what I think. What do you think?
Pick the bones out of that. Yeah, it's a bit of a strange one, isn't it? I think it's easy for us at the other side of the city, you know, at S6, and Sheffield Wednesday fans. You know, we've had some pain over the last few seasons, and plenty of pain from you know, the Sheffield United mob. So I suppose it's a bit of payback now, isn't it? But it is a bit of a head scratcher for me. I just think more so the comments more than anything else. You know, that he's not going to be judged on results on a Saturday afternoon, and it's more to do with the footballing department, etc., etc. I think the chairman said that, you know, he's a manager, and I'm not a football man, I'm not a Sheffield person. You're going to see very little of me, and you're going to see even less of the Prince, and just all.
They're retreating into the background, but they are the
how to disconnect yourself from your fan base. You know, the biggest thing about Sheffield folk, Sheffield people, is that I think we're honest, we're genuine, we wear our heart on our sleeves, and the supporters of the football clubs want that in their players and in their team and in their staff and in their football entirety. And you know, I don't think any of them have got that at the moment, you know, and these comments just fuel that fire, don't they? You know, and you know, and I'm not. What I'm not going to do is I'm not going to sit here and you know, mock or make fun, because, you know, as a Sheffield Wednesday fan, well, you know, we're in an even worse situation at the moment. So I just think it's sad times for this city and the football part of this city, because it's just atrocious, isn't it? It's, you know, it's like, I'm not funny. We're actually becoming a bit of a laughing stock, aren't we? Really. You know, I said to you outside, you know, when Hallam FC is the best run football club in the city, it's coming to something, isn't it?
Yeah, and that.
I mean, Sheffield FC might argue about that, but they've only just recently lost the manager, so.
Well, it's an irrefutable claim. I think that they are, and I think as well. I don't know if you agree that there is a significance in the rising crowds at that level, not just at Hallam, at Sheffield as well, Stocksbridge Park, Steels Penistone, wherever you go, crowds at that level are increasing. Does that reflect discontent with the way our big professional clubs are run?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, I'm good friends with a number of Sheffield United fans. One of my best friends, you know, he holds a couple of tickets in the Platinum Suite, I think it is, and didn't even attend at the weekend. Just didn't attend. Just said, I've had enough. I've not lost interest, but it's too stressful. It's too hurtful, and you know, when things like that happen, it's and then the supporters hear these comments. You know, can you imagine Bert McGee saying, "You're not going to see much of me anymore. I'm not coming to the games. I'm not going to be here. I'm not going to attend. I'm not interested."
Well, you're going back to the days of the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers, if you like. Although he was a tool boss,
but,
they got flack for not investing, but they weren't particularly wealthy people, but they were members of the community, business community.
I think the thing is, Alan, for me, that, football from the outside is an really easy game. We're all experts. There's millions of experts out there, aren't there? Everybody's got an opinion, and apparently everybody has the right to an opinion. And from the outside looking in, it looks quite easy. I think when you get in the middle of it, and you'll have witnessed this, when you get in the middle of it, it's far from an easy game. And I think, the Sheffield United board and directors, probably in the Chris Wilder tenure, going from Division 1 to the Premier League and finishing 9th, probably had 3, 4, 5 years of that, thinking, this is a doddle. It really is a doddle, this football lark. Well, you know what? All of a sudden they're seeing the other side of it, aren't they? And we're no different at Hillsborough. Deshvan Chansiri, I'm sure when he chucked all his cash at it and got into the playoff finals, and it's quite easy, this game, but it's not. It's not just a matter of throwing money at it. It's not just a matter of fantasy football. You've got to have football people making football decisions. And
well, Sheffield United have one, Jan van Winkel, but he also is remote, I think, from the football club. He's the director of football. He's obviously got a lot of power. I think he's not actually titled director of football, but he's Prince Abdullah's nominated football expert, the guy that who advises him, has a lot of power, but I don't see responsibility particularly, because he's not going to get fired, is he?
Well, again, they're the best jobs in football, aren't they? I remember when Chansiri brought in his advisory panel of Glenn Roeder. I think there was Glenn Roeder and another 2 guys. And
Adam Pearson was one.
Yeah.
I forget.
And you go and you look at that and you say, well, what a fantastic job that is. That I'll advise you what to do. We'll advise what players to buy. But if anything goes wrong on the pitch, I've got zero responsibility, and it's the manager's fault. So he carries the can.
Yeah, it's a nice position.
But I do also think that people from outside of the game need help and advice from football people. I mean, you go. I was in the company of Howard Wilkinson last Friday, and we were having a chat about stuff, and why's nobody gone and put their arm around Howard and picked his brains?
He's tried.
Beggars belief, doesn't it?
Well, he went in and
I know he did, yeah, but it does beggars belief, doesn't it?
It certainly does. But in a moment, we're going to come on to maybe some encouraging words about Sheffield Wednesday. I've seen them several times lately, and I've seen a rising level of performance, without a doubt. I think you've seen Middlesbrough, Chris Wilder's new team, a couple of times. But before we move on to that, Jukanovic going. I mean, my feeling is United didn't really want him in the first place, and had to be sort of stampeded in that direction. Did you have a similar view of it?
Yeah, I did. You hear stuff, especially in the environment that I'm working in now.
As an agent,
football agency, and I mean, you do hear a lot of things far sooner than they come out in the media. I was led to believe that he wasn't first choice, and all of a sudden he got the job, not through the back door, but a push really, and but who's to say? I don't know what has officially gone on behind the doors, but yeah, you look at where that football club was probably 2 years ago and where they are now, and it's a massive fall, isn't it?
How could they have frittered away 2 years in the Premier League and the finance that brought in? Okay, former manager Chris Wilder bears some responsibility. Some of the signings haven't worked out. That is undeniable. But he had 4 fantastic years against 1 poor one, so he was massively in credit in that regard.
Yeah, listen, absolutely. It's well documented. I'm friends with Chris. you know, the company that I work for, or, you know, we look after Chris, etc., etc. But you know, why would that guy walk away from a job that he? It was probably the one job in the world that he wanted, and as you've just said, he had an amazing four years. Getting them from League One to the Premier League was an outstanding job, and you know, there's a lot of criticism, a lot of stuff put out there that I think is harsh, really, and hard on Chris. And I also think things like, you know, you know, and Jukanovic might do it. You know, you sign a confidentiality agreement, but it's only a one-way street. You know, the other party is allowed to come out and say their bit, but you can't respond. You know, things like that for me.
He wasn't even mentioned, I think, in the statement by name today.
Yeah. But you know, things like that for me, it just speaks volumes for how places are run. You know, I think like all of us or most of us in football, I think you just want things to be fair. You know, and you know, again, speaking on, you know, not behalf of Chris, but my own views, but knowing Chris, I think there's a lot of things happen behind closed doors that not many people know about. You know, not just at that football club, but at other football clubs. And I think if supporters were privy to some of the goings on behind closed doors at football clubs, they'd be absolutely aghast. I really do, because some of it is eye-watering, really.
I think this certainly as well puts the lie to those who felt that Wilder was to blame for the club's current problems now, when he massively overachieved and Sheffield United had no right to be ninth in the Premier League. I think that now that they've seen another proven and very respected manager who everybody supported as being the ideal choice, having seen him not get on with the board and depart as well, I think that they're going to have to rethink that viewpoint. It's
absolutely, and I think they've missed a trick, because I do believe that there's an unfairness of the parachute payments when you come down from the Premier League. You know, I mean, for any football club that gets relegated from the Premier League, surely the first season has to be your optimum season to try and return. You know, with your 65, 70, 80 million pound parachute payment, it has to be, you know, the players are all on a reduction in salaries, because, or they should be, if the football club have done the job right, they should be on a reduction of salaries because you've got relegated. So surely that is your optimum season for bounce back.
I think they all were on.
You know, and then you look at the way Sheffield United went, and they only employed Jukanovic from, I think, like we said earlier, at the end of May, but he didn't actually step foot into the building until the 1st of July. And you're playing catch up, aren't you? You're playing catch up, you know. Whereas for me, you've got to hit that ground running. You've got to be, you know, you've got to get your players in. You've got to do your business early. You've got to set your stall out. You've got to give it everything for that first season. Because if you get back up, we all know that prize is such a huge prize. It sets your football club up financially for decades.
It's not as if it was impossible now. I look at that and I think it's a poor division this season, the Championship. United might be, 15th or 16th, but they're not so far adrift that they couldn't get back involved. And I think, much as I think Jukanovic felt, if it's not working, I might as well go, and he'll have come in and thought he won't be heartbroken to be sacked in that respect if it wasn't working. But I think he genuinely did feel all was not lost. But we'll talk about Chris Wilder and Middlesbrough later. Sheffield Wednesday, I saw them the other night. I thought the performance was absolutely excellent. They thoroughly deserved to beat MK Dons, albeit by 2 very late goals. I'd have said it was a good performance even if they'd lost. Do you think they're turning the corner now?
I'd like to think so. Speaking to somebody about it yesterday, and you know, we've got to that many corners and not got round them. And if you were Lewis Hamilton, you'd end up in a ditch, wouldn't you? But listen, you know, I think they've underachieved again this season so far. I thought they had a really good window. I thought the summer transfer, because they got their hands tied behind the back, You know, they were on a soft embargo. They could only bring frees or loan players in. That's not an easy market to work in, you know. And I thought they'd done really, really well getting some of the players in. Do I buy into this? Or, you know, it takes time for them to gel, and yeah, to some degree it does. But you know what? You're professional footballers. You don't all play football just one way. You know, you're brought up through your career as a kid, through the juniors, through the reserves, through the 23s, and whatever period you play in, to play football in different ways, different types, different manners. You know, you can all get it, you can all get hold of it, you can all pass it, you can all win headers, you can all chase, run, tackle. So for me, it's about putting those people together and getting the right fit, and going out with good man management and positivity, and getting them rolling. And I think they've, you know, on Tuesday night they had a couple of injury returns, didn't they? Windass and Luongo. You know, hopefully that's the spark that allows them to kick on and climb up that table. Because I think it's a bit like the Championship, that, you know, you put 4 or 5 wins together, you go from 15th to 3rd.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous, really.
And I think what's great is that for the first time there've been a few doubts expressed by supporters about Darren Moore, and there was a lot of restlessness. One or two out there saying get rid of him, which I thought was massively premature. To be honest, I think when a guy's brought that many players in, you owe him some time. The other night I sensed some belief. I think there was some belief on and off the field collectively in the players and the manager. Do you sense that as well? It's important.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you know, we've just been talking about Sheffield United and what's been happening there. I mean, you know, if you're a Sheffield Wednesday fan, you've been kicked from pillar to post for the last 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 15 years, whatever. You know what I mean? It goes on and on and on. But they still turn up.
Yeah.
You know, the crowds are still good crowds. You know, you're languishing in the middle of League One, and there's 20,000 odd people turning up on a Saturday afternoon, and so you know, you can't level anything at that fan base. You know, they really, really wear the heart on the sleeve, and they really love the football club, and they get behind them, and they just like to see a little bit of positivity, I think, for them, and belief. Yeah, listen, you know, you sprinkle a few crumbs and they're there, aren't they?
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
And it'd be great. It'd be great to just see a bit of success down there.
I can see them competing for top 2. What do you think?
Oh, I mean, I'm not going to shoot myself in the foot and say that.
Well, I
hope you're right.
Yeah.
I really do hope you're right. You know what I mean? You know,
the quality
of
player there. I mean, Corbin, who's terrific down one week. They've got players back like Luongo, Ballon's playing very, very well. I'm going to mention 1 or 2 players to you in part 2, because we're coming to the end of part 1 now. Kieran Brennan plays in your sort of position, a young player that's come in and looks really accomplished, I think. And also you've seen Middlesbrough. Now, it's not been the best of starts for Chris up there on Teesside, but when has he ever started well? I mean, the 2 promotion seasons to Bramall Lane stick in my mind, League One and Championship. Terrible starts of the season, results-wise. So 1 point from 2 home games, nothing to panic about, I wouldn't have thought there. Plus there'll be another very interesting talking point in part 2. Plenty more football on the way in just 2 or 3 minutes. See you then.